Mm-hmm. So that's my, so that's my, I think for streamline have you ever had those but then my stream na by was that very experience yeah. Give me a second yeah. Lecturers from back on the street in January. Amid growing frustration over government concentrated corona reforms.
Sikia kummeza.
Moses, I have seen your student 16.
Yes?
16 have joined.
Okay.
Maybe you mobilize, they join more.
Yeah.
So,
Okay. Acha nipigie hata class rep.
Uh,
no. I'm deducted 99 when you mind myself. 99, but whatever is being posted on my portal is 74.25. This is usual 99. And angalia tu employees kwanza, because of course employer itakana double up. So hata bado yangu tu kwa sababu ana double up kwa yenyewe kwa hapa. Ana double up. Whatever is on the portal is double. Is double just as it's expected. But then whatever I'm being deducted, yes, is there is a less nine, as a deficit of 25. Yes. Yeah, so I need to remember the necessary part here will give up what this is mine, but I might never access. So I think tunakaa kutoka lazima. We'll never, this one I know. This one nakona kitu not sure. Because what I heard from RBA, they are saying that NSSF will only pay you if at all there are no blanks. There are no blanks in your statement. And if there are blanks, they say. If there are blanks, one of them for your employer. So you can imagine what of these companies that have already been. So utaenda nani ya nani ya nini. So I was trying to argue with those guys who are yeah. Why does it just necessarily pay you whatever you are claiming, whatever you can see? Wewe utaki walazimisha kupatie yenye haiko. Wewe unataka kupatie whatever they are saying they are saying. Akaanza kusema oh inaona tunani. Nikamwambia hapana, si upeane hata kidogo yenye mtu alichangia. Hiyo ingine hata basi mkuje. Inaonekana iko mahali inaonekana fulani. Na mimi hiyo tayari na niko na employer hapo anapeana. Eh. 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 Niangalie hivyo nielewe. Hata mnafanya vizuri sana, mnafanya kazi kuangalia vitu hivi. Ingawa ndio na kuanga leo nimejaribu tu nione whatever is here what I'm doing. Imagine sasa unajua nimekumbuka the way you normally insist. Wao wana insist sana kwa mkutano. That you should be checking if there is any problem. Nimeona ino kitu tunaweza jaza hapa. Yeah, no bit jaza. So unajua nilishtua kidogo. But there is much more than even that. During that meeting, kuna resolutions nyingi sana because they even told me I should be having a will. That's my point, a will. So what if you die today? Is there anyone who knows your M-Pesa PIN? Yeah, that's a CEO. And I can only ukikufa tu sahi. Don't assume that you live forever. Is there anyone who knows your PIN number? Hata ya bank, hata ya PIN. Bwana nilichoka sana. Ule mama anakumbuka Ule lawyer huyo mama bwana hapana maneno bwana. I wish we had enough time with her. Huyo jamaa kwa yura sana. Wewe mpaka nilisema lazima tutafuta namba yake. Anisaidie. Bwana hii vitu because you know you can die anytime. Ukufe tu. Haya, next of kin hata hata wakikula afadhali wakule kuliko state kukula. Iende tu. Kwa hiyo ndani. Nilichanua bwana nikasema tu. Nikasema before the end of this year I should have a draft with. Mahali ndio sasa nitaanza. Yes, alisema kama ungeweza shida kulikuja the last moment tena haiko kwa ajenda yetu. Hiyo ni nini? Akasema but there is something that you need to just go through. Sasa yeye akadwell from hizi form hiyo decision na akakuja mahali kwa akaniambia please mbona ufanye kazi miaka yote alafu watoto wako wakufe tu maskini kama mshakufa ama unaweza pata stroke saa hii na ushindwe kuongea. Kwa hiyo yani alikuwa anasema God forbid. Hadi hapa ilinichapa kichwa sana mpaka saa hii akili yangu inazunguka kichwa. Thank you for the opportunity, brother. No, might be. We are doing good signing on preach. And the big forms will be one kata. The good things are that you may tell about what. The reason why, you know, when my sister died, then I was very good. Nilikuwa ameweka pesa kwa simu ya fee. Yule kama ingekuwa tu kufuatilia tu kulikuwa na mtu Safaricom. Ni alitusaidia tu akatupeleka hivi. Hiyo pesa ilikuwa iende. Nana kwa is the richest entity in Kenya right now. Because no one claims, no one does for you. Then kuna akasema andika hata wili. Nikauliza nani anajua vile namba pesa? Automatically kwa sababu hiyo unapenda ninapokuwa. Si unaandika wili? Unaweza patia, unaweza deposit mahali popote, but unaweza taka nayo ndio mahali. Kwa sababu it has it's then by at least 3 weeks. Kwa wakati nayo ukikufa kwa sababu tunasema sample zako mahali umeficha ipate wanapeana kitu. Kule unakaa hivi watu pesa mahali hawajui kwa wanakufa nani na kifo ni anytime anywhere anytime mimi hapa hiyo kitu nilijaribisha kwa nikasema ATM yangu hakuna mtu anajua M-Pesa hakuna mtu anajua kila banki hakuna mtu anaandika hapa next week.
We can now proceed with our class. And today, our lesson will be majorly on African religions, intermediaries, and specialists. And generally, when you look at African traditional religion, they have various religious specialists. And we want to begin by understanding what we mean by intermediary. An intermediary is one who speaks on behalf of another person. So an intermediary is generally a person who speaks on behalf of another person. Specialists, these are people who have undergone training and have attained great knowledge and skills in a given area or standard. Therefore, religious specialist is one with knowledge and skills in religious matters. So when we're talking about religious intermediaries or religious specialists, we are simply talking about people who have broad knowledge and skills in religious matters. And when we look at the African traditional religion, there are various religious specialists who are the custodian of religious teachings in traditional African society. African religion embraces the whole life of people, and therefore there is no distinction between religious and secular. What we simply mean is that in African society, you cannot be able now to distinguish between what is sacred and what is secular, because to an African world view, everything is approached on a sacred perspective. And when we go back to John S. Beatty, he says that Africans are notoriously religious, and the religion cut across all departments of life, all aspects of life in traditional African society. So to African, religion embraces the whole life of people, and therefore there is no distinction between the religious and the secular leaders. In this, we simply mean that to an African, if someone was a king, if someone was a chief, could play religious functions, they were also considered to be religious intermediaries or specialists. Because to an African, there is no dichotomy between religious leaders and the secular leaders. To an African, all of them are religious intermediaries or religious specialists. That's why we look on various key leaders. Like when we go back to the West Africa in the Asante Kingdom, where we under Asante Hene, he used to play political roles and also religious roles, meaning that to an African, the whole life of people is all about religion, and to an African, religion is life, and you cannot separate an African with religion. That's why to an African there is no dichotomy or no difference between religious leaders and secular leaders. All of them are religious specialists. The responsibilities of any leader encompasses both aspects of life, and the purpose is always to improve life. So any responsibility of any leader when it comes to African traditional religion, it normally encompasses religious aspect and also leadership aspect. That's why we are saying to African people, there is no difference between, or there is no separation between what is profane and what is sacred. So to an African, there's nothing, you cannot have anything which is profane or sacred. Everything to an African is sacred. That's why Professor John S. Bitt said Africans are notoriously religious. An African eat religiously, behave religiously, work religiously, simply meaning that whatever an African does has a religious significance. May it be leaders and any role or any individual in the society, it must have some religious connotations or meaning. Therefore, there are various religious specialists in traditional African religion or in traditional African society. Number one, we have priest. We also have healers or medicine men or medicine people. They also have rainmakers. They also have diviners. They also have mediums. They also have prophets. And they also heralders. So the various religious specialists encompassing priests, healers, medicine men, rainmakers, diviners, mediums, and prophets, and also elders. So elders in the African society or in African traditional religion are also considered to be religious specialists. And that's why we began by saying that to an African, the responsibility of any leader encompasses both aspects of life. And the purpose is always to improve life. So that's why you see the elders are also part and parcel of religious specialists in traditional African religion. So we begin looking on one by one, begin looking on priest. So when Mengele go to various African communities, you find them, they are priests. And these priests, they are the community leaders in religious activities. So when looking at the priest, they are community leaders who perform or who preside over religious functions or religious activities in the society. There are various responsibilities or duties of the priest or the roles that are played by priests in traditional African society. Number one, they have a duty to pass orally on moral codes of the clan from generation to generation. What we simply mean is that the priest, they have a duty to pass moral code of the clan from one generation to another via the word of mouth. And I want you to have in your mind when saying that they used to pass these moral codes to the Africans orally, we simply mean that when you're talking about African traditional religion, they didn't have a specific sacred book. But to an African, religion is written everywhere. Religion is part of their life. And religion is the way of life of the Africans. So that's why we are saying the priest, they under a role or a duty to pass the moral codes of their clan from one generation to another via the word of mouth. And this responsibility is given to them because they are closer to God and are his messengers. Before we go to the next, you need to understand that to an African or in an African traditional religion, you cannot approach God directly, because to an African, God is very holy and therefore cannot be approached directly, but God can be approached through intermediaries who act through intermediaries or religious specialists. So we are simply saying that people, they believe that it is the duty of the priest to make sure they pass the moral codes from one generation to another via the word of mouth, by the virtue that they are closer to God and they are his messengers. The second duty or responsibility is that they lead others in prayer and offering sacrifices. So it is the duty of the priest to lead others when they in time of prayer, and also offering sacrifices. So to the African people, it was the duty or the role of the priest to lead others when it comes in offering sacrifices. So sacrifices and prayers could not be led by any person anyhow, but the various clans, the various people in their community who played this role, and that is the priest. Number 3, driving away witches. So the priest could also play the role of taking away the witches in the society. And by the virtue of them being closer to God and being the messengers of God, therefore, it was their role to ensure that they take away the witches in their society. Another responsibility or duty is removing curses. So when you look at the African traditional society, if someone had been cursed, or there was a curse to a certain family, to a certain individual, what would happen is that the priest could be called upon so that they can now help to remove that curse from the members of their society. And they could remove the curses by performing various rituals and making sure that the culprit or the people who had been cursed, they are able to perform various rituals as a way of cleansing them so that they can be taken back to other members of the society. The other role is appeasing the spirit or protecting people from danger and harm. You need to understand the African worldview is full of spirit. And this spirit, at some point, they are a good spirit and they are also bad spirit. So when it comes on the religious spirits such as priests were used to appease the spirit. And how they could appease the spirit, the priest could be used now to lead in offering the sacrifices so that they can be able now to appease the spirit. And as a result of that, they managed to protect the people from any danger or harm from the spirit. So the priests were used to appease the spirit. This could be done by offering sacrifices so that they can make their spirit happy, and as a result of that, prevent any danger or harm to the members of the community. Another responsibility is that it is the duty of the priest when it comes to purifying people from what can cause harm and bring misfortune. So the priest used to ensure that they purify the people from what can cause harm and bring misfortune. So in case of anything that happened to individuals, and the priest could see this one could bring misfortune, or the members of the community or the family realizes that what one of their members has done can cause harm to the entire society or entire family. Therefore, the priest could be called upon to purify these people so that they can prevent the cause of harm or any misfortune to the members of the community or the members of the society. So to African communities, various African communities, they had various priests who played various roles, as we have discussed, and no one else could perform the duties of that unless you are specifically a religious specialist. We'll go to the second religious specialist. That is the medicine men. They were also referred to as healers or medicine people. And having in mind, when it comes on healers or herbalists or medicine men people, they are members or they are religious specialists in traditional African society or in traditional African religion. And these healers, they performed various duties or functions in the society. Number one, the major duty is to heal the sick. By having in mind that these medicine men, these are people who have their knowledge when it comes on various herbs that could be used to heal the members of the community. And their main role was to heal the sick. So if the members of the society or any individual of the society get sick, therefore they were supposed to go to seek healing from the medicine men. And therefore the medicine men, they could prescribe the herbs that the members could take so that they could be able now to diagnose or conduct the diagnosis on the sickness and be able now to prescribe the cure for that disease. The second duty or role is that to take care of people's health and general welfare. So in general, we're simply saying that the medicine men, it was their role to take care of the people's health and the general welfare of the members of the society. So they were to ensure that the health of the members of the society is taken care of and the general welfare of the community. And these people, they used to make sure they are able now to identify various herbs that could be used for the general welfare or for the general health of the members of the society. The other point is that they diagnose sickness and give appropriate answers. What we simply mean is that every member of the community, in any time, either fall sick or any illness or get any illness, they were supposed to go to seek for medical attention to the medicine men. And these were the people who could now conduct a diagnosis and give the appropriate answers. At some point, there are some diseases which didn't need any herbal medicine. They could advise that these people be taken back to their families, and then rituals could be performed. So there was the role of these medicine men to be able now to diagnose these sicknesses and give the appropriate answers. Another point is that it was their mandate to treat chronic illnesses. So there was the role of the medicine men to heal those chronic diseases. The diseases that if they could now befall on the members of the society, which were a bit difficult to heal from the herbs. So it was the mandate of these medicine to make sure they are able now to find out the cause of the illness and ensure that they provide the treatment of those chronic diseases. Another point is that they prescribe preventive measures to be taken by the sick. So what we simply mean is that it was the role of the medicine man to be able to put various measures, to put precautionary measures which could be used by the members of the society so that they can be able now to prevent them from getting some diseases. So it was upon them to educate the general, to take care of the general welfare of the society by giving them various preventive measures when it comes to specific diseases. Another role is that it was the mandate of the medicine men to identify the causes of illnesses. What we simply mean is that because these medicine men, the members of the society, when they get ill, they used to visit them. Therefore, it is upon these medicine men to carry out a research and be able now to identify the cure for various illnesses which were facing the members of the community and make sure they offer a solution, they offer a cure for those various illnesses. So as a result of that, they had to conduct a research, be able now to identify various various herbs which can be used to cure various illnesses in the society. The other one is they also provide medicine to end fertility in both people and the animals. So what we simply mean, in case whereby you find now people get married and they are not able now to conceive, especially in, for example, a woman, or even on the side if the man is impotent, they could go to consult the medicine men so that they can provide a medicine which can help them regain their fertility. And this one was applied to both people and the animals. So when the animals also could not be able now to conceive, they could also the medicine man could offer a solution for that. When people, the same case, they had issues with the fertility, it was also the role of the medicine man to help these people to regain their fertility. The other one is that they act as counselors and guide people in all aspects of life. So what we simply mean is that the medicine men, they offered guidance and counseling to the members of the society when it comes to various aspects of human life. So it was upon the medicine men to make sure that people are psychologically healed or people are comfortable by giving them guidance and counseling on various matters that pertain various aspects of life, so that they can be able now to make sure that all the general welfare of the members of the society is taken care of. Therefore, most sicknesses to the African society were attributed to sorcerers, witchcraft, broken taboos, magic, or evil spirit. And the treatment include the use of herbs, religious rituals, certain taboos, and traditions. So what we simply mean is that the medicine men or various sicknesses in the society were associated to sorcerers. And when we're talking about the sorcerers, these are people who are believed to use supernatural powers, magic, or other knowledge to influence events, heal, harm, and predict the future or communicate with the spirit. So what we simply mean is that the sorcerers could cause sicknesses. The witchcraft, when people break the taboos, the magician and also the evil spirit could cause various sicknesses. And as a result of that, it was upon the medicine men to make sure they are able to come up with various herbs to heal various sicknesses. And the sicknesses which could not be healed by use by herbs. Therefore, others, they could now perform the religious rituals so that they can be able now to heal those people. There are also certain taboos that those who are sick could be called upon to embrace so that they can get healed. There are also some traditions that they could be advised by the medicine men to follow them so that they can be able now to reverse or take out that sicknesses. So in this case is that everything, any sickness, any illness, it was upon the medicine men to make sure they offer that solution. And that's why it was upon them to identify all the causes of illnesses and prescribe the cure. Whether to use herbs, whether to perform rituals, whether to use some certain rituals or some traditions as a way of curing various diseases. From the roles, we want to see how does one become a healer in traditional African society or in African traditional religion. Number one, through inheritance. So when talking about inheritance, is whereby, for example, if your father was a medicine man, it simply means that the son could inherit from the father through apprenticeship, meaning that the son could be learning from the father, could be even could be knowing now the various herbs which could be used because he and lived with his father, he had interacted with the father, and has been able now to learn through apprenticeship. And as a result of that, he could inherit that the role of medicine, or he could inherit and become a medicine man, and continue after the father to perform the various roles of medicine man. The other one, through a calling, we simply mean some could be called, or some members of the society could be called to be medicine men. And as a result of that, through that calling, therefore they could be accepted and be allowed to continue performing the roles of the medicine men. But you could not say you are called anyhow. You could now, members of the elders could observe, and they are the one now to give that autonomy and acknowledge that you have been called to perform the various roles of the medicine men. The other one is that some undertake relevant training from skilled persons. So what we simply mean is that some members of the society could be trained so that they can be medicine men. And the people who could train them were the people who had the knowledge and skills of medicine men. In simple terms, the experienced medicine men could be given that mandate, that authority to train other members of the community so that they can be able now to enhance or help in performing the roles of the medicine men for the general welfare of the society. Training involves the following. Let's see. Under this training, when we train to be a medicine man, it involves the following. Number one, acquisition of knowledge of the herbs. So you need to be fully equipped with the knowledge that pertains various herbs that heal various sicknesses. Be conversant with the tree roots and the scenes that are suitable for treatment. What do you simply mean? They would be able now to be equipped with the knowledge of the herbs. And as a result of that, they could be able now to know which tree that could help or which herb could provide a certain cure for a certain disease, because they would have learned or have acquired that knowledge from a well-skilled and experienced medicine man. The other one, learning the language and the procedure followed while diagnosing diseases. Just like in the modern doctors, the way you see they have their own language of their area of specialization. Even how they write, they prescribe, is very unique. So we are simply saying, even the medicine men who are among the religious specialists in traditional African religion, they had to learn a unique language, or they had the language which was used when you are prescribing or when you are diagnosing the diseases. Another point is that gaining knowledge on what to prescribe for various illnesses. So you could know through this training, you could gain the knowledge and you'll be able even to know how to prescribe to carry out prescription for various illnesses. If we're taking those herbs, you get the knowledge whether the individual is supposed to take a cup of herbs or a full cup of herbs for how many days and at what time. So they could acquire this knowledge from these experienced medicine who could train them. Traditional healers continue to fulfill their specialized roles in most communities in Kenya. So what we simply mean, even up to date, when we go to various African communities, they have those traditional healers. And to some extent, even some are even licensed by the government to continue with the herbalist, or to continue with the healing for the members of the society when they are really approved and given even that certificate to clearly indicate they have those knowledge and skills that pertains various herbs that can cure various members of the society. they are sought after by those who still believe in them. There are people or there are various communities, even up to date. Some even don't go to hospital, but they believe by visiting the traditional healers or their illnesses will be cured. And by those who have lost faith in modern medicine prescribed by doctors. There are some people who go to those, take those Western medicine and they feel still they are not getting healed, and you find them develop the trust towards the traditional healers. In some cases, we have, for example, we have politicians and some students, some people who want to success in various areas, such as promotions. Normally, they can visit healers to gain success because when you go to them, they have that knowledge, and therefore they can provide for the general welfare of the community. So there are some people here that they have gone to the healers so that they can be given that power for success, so that they can get the promotions or also gain access. In simple terms, in as much as the healers were dealing with diseases, they also dealt with other matters that pertain to society, even when it comes in success and promotions and many others. From there, I want us to discuss now the rainmakers. And when we're talking about the rainmakers, they were special people in traditional African community who were responsible for controlling rain. So we are simply saying all African communities, they earned the rainmakers as one of the religious specialists who were majorly responsible for controlling rain in their community. And these rainmakers, they could either, or a rainmaker could either be a man or a woman. So it was not specifically for men only. A woman could be a rainmaker, a man could be a rainmaker. Therefore, one to become a rainmaker, they must understand weather patterns and interpret them. And this is done by observing the movement of certain birds and animals as they indicate the weather. So what we simply mean is that the rainmakers, for you to be a rainmaker, you must have the knowledge and skills when it comes on weather patterns. And you must have that knowledge to interpret the weather patterns. And it simply means is that they were following the movement of certain birds and animals. Because some movement of certain birds and animals, they clearly indicate the weather. And by observing those movements, they could clearly categorically say whether there will be a rain or not. Rainmakers do not make rain, but they have the various duties that they perform. So when we're talking about rain, we don't necessarily mean that they make rain. We simply mean, by the virtue of them being religious specialists, they had various functions that they performed, which could now resort to rain or stop every rain. Number one, they spend long hours praying to God to provide rain for the people. In simple terms, what we are saying, when, for example, a community is stricken by the drought, the rainmakers could spend long hours, take a lot of time praying to God so that God can provide rain for the people. So what we simply mean, they didn't make rain, but there are various duties that they performed that could now call upon, or they could appease God, and as a result of that, the rain now would fall down. So what is simply they spend long hours praying to God to provide rain for the people. The other one, they perform certain rituals when asking for the rain. So what we simply mean is that the rainmakers, they perform rituals. For example, they could go and offer sacrifice to God, dressed in a unique way, having applied hope, and as a result of that, they could offer or perform rituals or offer sacrifices so that they can appease their spirit and God as a way of asking for rain. So in simple terms, I think they perform rituals when asking for rain. The other one, they plead with God to stop rain when it is too much. So the rainmakers could plead to God when the rain is very heavy. And if the rain was going to cause destruction, therefore they could plead with God so that God can be able now to stop the heavy rain. Another duty is that they advise people when to expect rain to fall. So it was the role of the rainmakers to provide clear guidance, to advise people when they are supposed to expect rain. And as a result of that, the people could be able now to plan for the various seasons and know when they are supposed to even to plant their crops. How does one become a rainmaker? Through an individual could become a rainmaker through experiences passed down by parent or through inheritance. In simple terms, what we are saying, if your parents were rainmakers, there was higher probability that you will become a rainmaker because you would have acquired that knowledge and skills from the parent through apprenticeship. And as a result of that, you could be given an opportunity to inherit the office of the rainmaker and be part and parcel of religious specialists in traditional African religion. Some undergo long training to master the art of raining. So meaning that others also could be trained by those experienced rainmakers. And B, their role have been overtaken by modern science and technology, as there are people trained in meteorology who give weather forecast. However, rainmakers are still important in some communities. What we simply mean is that with the modernization, where we have the advancement in science and technology, the role of the medicine men has been undertaken by this advancement. And as a result of that, we have trained meteorologists who give weather forecast. But when we go to some communities, still the rainmakers, they are very important in their society. From there, we want to discuss now the diviners. Diviners are also among the religious specialists in traditional African religion. And the medicine men, these are people who seek knowledge or answers by interpreting signs, message, or supernatural clues. What do you simply mean? They interpret. They seek knowledge. They seek answers on various signs, messages, and also supernatural clues. They find out hidden secret of knowledge and share them with people. So it is the duty of the diviners to seek the hidden secret, the hidden knowledge of the community and share it with the members of the society. Number two, they also work as medicine men people. So they can also play also the role of the medicine men. So we are simply mean that at some point they can also seek the causes of various diseases. The other one is that they identify the causes of success. So as much as we have said they can also play the role of the medicine men, we simply mean these people can also even identify what causes success or what has made someone to be successful. So it is upon the diviners in the African society who are seeking knowledge and answers to identify the causes of success among the members of the society. The other function is that they also identify the spirit causing trouble. And remember, we said that through our course, we said that the worldview of Africans is full of spirituality, meaning that there are so many spirits in the African worldview. And as a result of that, they are, by the virtue of having various spirits, we have good spirit and we have also bad spirit. So it is upon the diviners who seek knowledge and answers to be able now to identify the spirit which are causing the trouble or which causes the trouble in the society. They also propose what should be done or given to the spirit to stop troubling the victim. So what we simply mean is that the diviners in traditional African society, they had that mandate to be able now to identify the spirit which are causing trouble. At the same time, they also proposed what should be done or given to the spirit to stop troubling the victim. So it was upon the diviners to identify the spirit causing trouble and also propose or suggest what can be done or offer the solution so that they can be able now to appease those spirits and stop troubling the victim or any individual who could be faced by this troublesome spirit. Diviners uses the following items. Number one, they use pebbles. And when talking about pebbles, those are fine stones which are mainly found along the riverbanks. You pick those small stones along the riverbanks, then you could now, they could use them now as items of performing their functions. They could also use water. They could also use bones. They could also use animal entries and remain. When we're talking about animal entries, we are simply talking about those animal intestines. And this is the case where when talking about animal entries, these diviners, they could be able now to read even the intestine of an animal and clearly see what is going to happen. They could interpret those intestines. So we are simply meaning that the diviners could use animal entries or intestine or remains as a way of performing their functions. And the moment they read the intestine, they can advise the members even whether to take those part of the animals or not. They could also use the guns. Those people also would safeguard the community so that they as a way of interpreting the people. So they use knowledge of numbers and manipulate them. So when we're talking about the use knowledge of numbers, for example, it's 6, 10, 13, 14, you know, they play with numbers. And as they play with the numbers, as a way of manipulating them. So we are simply mean that they use the knowledge of numbers and manipulate them. They also practice palmistry. And I'm talking about palmistry is an act of reading palms. So you could give them your palms and they could read your palms and tell you even whether you'll be successful or you'll not be successful, whether there's something which would happen to you. So we are saying the diviners also practice the palmist, which is an act of reading palms to foretell the future of those who visit them. So when you visit them, they can read your palm and tell you about the future, tell you whether you'll be successful or not, tell you what is going to happen to you. At the same time, they use trained language different from the ordinary. So we simply means that the diviners could use extraordinary language when they are performing their functions. They also work closely with the healers and the medicine men people. That's why I said these people, the diviners, can also sometimes play the role of the medicine men. And we are saying they work closely with the medicine men or healers. As the healers help them interpret what the diviners say. So what we simply mean is that the diviners, they work closely with the healers and medicine men people, as the healers help them interpret what the diviners say. So what the diviners say, the healers could help now to understand. The diviners communicate with the spirit world through mediums. When talking about mediums, mediums are people believed to have the ability to communicate with the spirit or a supernatural world, meaning that the diviners, they communicate with the spirit world through mediums, meaning that the diviners also work hand in hand with the mediums so that they can be able now to understand the spirit world, so that they can be able to communicate with the spirit world. They can go and be helped by the mediums. So the mediums help diviners find, number one, which spirit of the living dead need to be reappeared or reappeased. What we simply mean, when we simply mean is that the diviners or the mediums can help the diviners to be able now to identify and know which is which living dead or living spirit that need to be reappeased. They could identify when they identify the spirit causing trouble, when they could identify the living dead which need to be appeased, so that they can also prevent the misfortune or harm to the members of the community. The medium also help the diviners to identify the witches in the community, our chawi, to make sure they know who are the witches in the society. And as a result of that, when they identify, they can be able now to be driven out of the community. The medium also help the diviners to perform various rituals and medicine to cure diseases, meaning that they work hand in hand with the mediums. At the same time, the mediums help the diviners to clearly know whether an intended journey will be successful or not. For example, if a person is going for a journey and go to the diviners, the mediums could help the diviners to clearly know whether that journey will be successful or not. How does one become a diviner? Number one, through formal training. Number two, it can be either a man or a woman. It simply means one can become a diviner through formal training. and the diviner can be a man or a woman. Therefore, diviners remain relevant in traditional African communities and are still consulted during crisis times, such as by barren women and impotent men. What do you simply mean when talking about the Africans? Sometimes in as much as Africans, they are Christian, they are Muslim, at some point, they reach at some point and say, indeed, oh, we're going to go and consult the diviners in some communities. They are visited by people looking for employment or promotion opportunities. Divination has been affected by adoption of Christianity and Western values, as Christianity opposes all forms of divination and encourages faith in God. And look on number, the other religious specialist, the prophet, whereby in African society they hand various prophet, and a prophet is one who is sent, as for the Africans. In African communities, the prophets are referred to as seers. They are people with special duties and responsibilities in the community, and they can predict what is going to happen in the future, and they are able to foresee events before they take place. In simple terms, the priest, the prophet, they can be able now to tell what is going to happen in future. They can be able to tell what is going to happen even to the individuals. And as a result of that, they can even be able now to see the event before even they take place. How does one become a prophet? Number one, they receive a call from dreams and a vision. So one can become a prophet through a dream or through vision. They pursue intuition and foresight, and they are able to advise the society on the issues that concern them. For example, they can warn people and they advise them on when to expect a problem, such as drought, wars, or rain. So the prophet can give warning to the people. They can advise them when they expect to have those drought, to have floods, or to be involved in wars. Prophets are known to communicate with God and the Spirit. They act as mediators between God and the people. Today, the role of prophet is not as pronounced as it was in traditional African society. However, prophets still exist, and many people take their religious leaders to be prophets because they act as conscience of the society and tell people what to happen. From there on, as we discuss about the elders. The elders are a part and parcel of religious specialists in traditional African society. Elders in the society acquire experience from going through various stages of life. For elders and must be credible and mentally upright people. And to be an elder, one must have a family and family and grown-up children. So not everybody who could be an elder, but someone who has undergone various stages of life, who is credible and is mentally upright, and must have a family and grown-up children. Elders were head of families and perform religious functions. Their experience is gained through association with others who have more experience than themselves. So what it simply means, they got their experiences from the people who are older than them, and as a result of that, they get enshrined to the Council of Elders, which is established and tasked with the responsibilities of maintaining law and order. So I want to discuss now the main responsibilities of Council of Elders, or the duties of the Council of Elders. Number one, the Council of Elders, it acts as the government in the community and is called upon to perform important functions such as settling family and land dispute. What we simply mean is that in most of the African communities who are in the decentralized system of government, the Council of Elders acted as the government. And therefore, they are the ones who are involved in settling family and land dispute among the members of the society. They make major decisions that are affecting families and the community. So what we simply mean, they are the ones who make decisions that can affect the families and also the whole community, because they are the custodians of the customs, the traditions, and knowledge of the community. They establish rules and regulations to be followed to maintain law and order. So it is upon the Council of Elders to ensure that there are rules and regulations, and they are maintained and followed by the members of the society. They ensure that traditional values and cultural practices are observed and maintained through instructions given to the youth and members of the community. What we simply mean, by the virtue of the elders being the custodians of knowledge of the community, custodian of traditions of the community and values, therefore, they ensured that traditional values and cultural practices were observed, and they maintained through giving the instruction to the youth and members of the community. They play a leading role during important functions in the community. For example, during the rite of passage, they are represented by the elders. For example, during the initiation, you see the elders presenting over these initiation ceremonies. Even the time of death, they present over various, or they play various functions during this time. They assist the priest in preparing and performing sacrifices. They also act as counselors and guide the youth in matters of sex and marriage. So it is upon the elders to help or guide the youth when it comes in matters of sex and marriage. They could guide them. And that's why to the African society, you are not supposed to engage in sexual activity until you get married. Until you get married. At the same time, they advised them on how to live like husband and wife. They also led members of their families in religious activities, for example, offering sacrifice and pouring of libations. So for any sacrifices to take place within the family, it was supposed to be presented by an elder. And look now, the role of elders is still important. They are recognized by the government. They continue to settle land and family dispute. They remain custodian of society's norms and traditions. They also give general guidance to individuals, families, and communities as a whole. Then look now on the mediums, who are also part of the religious specialists, and we said that when talking about the mediums, these are people who have the ability to communicate with the spirit world, to communicate with the spirit. And they have the following functions. Number one, they receive messages from ancestors and the spirit, and they convey them or pass that message to the members of the society, meaning that they serve as mediators between the people, the members of the society, and the ancestors and the spirit. They also serve as medicine people or medicine men, meaning that they can also be able now to get and identify the various causes of various illnesses. They also explain unusual and mysterious happenings. But the virtue of having in your mind that the mediums, they have that ability to communicate with the spirit world. We simply mean, therefore, any unusual thing or any mysterious things happening, these people, they can communicate with the spirit and be able now to explain the unusual things or mysterious happenings in their communities. They offer solutions to life problems. So what we simply, by the virtue of having that ability to speak to the spirit world, they can be able now to get explanations of the various issues or problems that are facing the members of the society. They are consulted by other specialists, particularly prophets and diviners, meaning that the mediums majorly used to be consulted by the other specialists like prophet and diviners. How does one become a medium? One must endure hardship, such as staying in the cold for long hours on hand floors. So for you to become a medium, you're supposed to spend a lot of time on cold places, even the hand floors. They may go without certain types of food and they abstain from certain family relationship. So what we see, the mediums can go on an extent of even avoiding various types of food. And some even can go to an extent of even not getting married, even not involved in various relationships in the family. They must strictly follow the rules to avoid death or loss of power. So what we simply mean, there are various rules that the mediums were supposed to strictly follow. And in case, if they violate those rules, they would end up dying or losing their power. In their training, mediums learn how to identify the cause, the nature of the problem, and the treatment of a disease or misfortune. As we are saying, they could also act as medicine men. Therefore, in African traditional religion, ancestors serve as intermediaries between families and divinities. Ancestors are guardians of family affairs, traditions, ethics, and activities. They are regarded as spiritually presenting of the welfare of the family. On the other hand, prophets and seers are mediators between God and the people. So what we simply mean is that there are by the virtue of having these various religious specialists in traditional African society, they played various functions, various roles for the general welfare of the society. And by the virtue of having the various religious specialists, we also need to note that we have ancestors who also serve as intermediaries between families and divinities. And when we're talking about the hierarchy of beings, where we talk about God being at the top, we go now to the diviners, that's the spirit, we go now to the living then we go to the living, then we proceed to non-living. You see, in that hierarchy, you simply mean also the ancestors are also very important as a link between the families and the diviners and the ancestors. They also take care of the guardian of the welfare of the society, traditional ethics, and also the activities. Therefore, we have come to an end of our class, and therefore, I tend to take you through the work that we have been able now to, that I had given you an assignment and take you through so that it can be also done and for you to understand. Thank you for your time.
No. Yes, nimemaliza. Oh, sawa sawa. Welcome.